Hey, welcome to the Digital Insurance Agent Podcast. We're so glad you've joined us today. And with me is Tammy Johnston with KSA Business. And Tammy, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Carl.
Excellent. And Tammy, you've been in the financial services industry for a while. You've got an amazing story. And so I'm just going to step back and let you tell the story because I love hearing it. And I think the audience will love hearing it as well.
Well, yeah, so I've been in the financial services industry for over 32 years now, and I kind of fell into it by sort of accident, like most people, because I don't think anybody grows up going, you know what? I want to grow up and sell like insurance and mutual funds. That's my goal. So, like most people, fell into it, and I started working actually on the admin side. So I moved around to a few different companies and learned all sorts of wonderful things. And all throughout that, I had so many people telling me, Tammy, you need to go into sales. You need to start your own business. You need to do this. You'd be really good at it. And I kept going, I'm young, I'm blonde, and I'm female. Like, I just don't see that working so well because people want to get their financial advice from somebody who's like tall, white, salt and pepper hair, and typically male. At least that's very much what it was when I was starting out. So kept coming up with excuses and that. And then one magical moment, I was fired, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I hated where I was. I was already interviewing to be somewhere else, and one more week I would have been somewhere else with a better title and better pay. But in the moment I was being fired, I felt this great weight being lifted off my shoulders, and I'm going, I never have to work for another creepy, incompetent old man again. I am finally going into sales. And so I've been running my own business now for almost 23 years.
Excellent. And one of the things that when we talked planning out this episode, we talked about by nature you're an introvert,
Oh,
and
massively an introvert.
and here you went into sales, and tell us a little bit about that journey. So you best thing that ever happened. You get fired. You're out on your own. How did you figure this whole process out? I mean, what were some of the things you did that worked? What were some of the things you did that didn't work so well? Kind of tell us about the journey.
How many hours do we have for this?
Yeah.
I'm going, oh dear, that's such a big question. So yeah, because one of the many things that kept holding me back for years, like yes, young and all of this stuff, but like I'm an introvert and I'm going, I have to go out and not just make sales. I have to sell something that people need, but absolutely do not want, which is never a pleasant thing when you're starting out. And I'm going, and part of my job when I was working on the admin side was to be hiring agents and helping them and training them and doing all of this stuff. And one of the things that I saw the managers doing is, okay, they've got a brand new person and they come in and they have them, okay, you need to write out your 100 hot list. So your names of 100 friends and family that you can now start harassing and pestering and making them want to forget your name ever existed. They don't use those words, but that's the end result. And I'm going, there is no way in the world I am going to do that. Like, no way, no way, no way. So I'm going, I have to find other ways to be marketing and getting my message out there, but I don't want to do it in a creepy, pushy way or anything like that. So one of the things that I started off doing was small community trade shows. And what I was doing very different. So I actually designed a personal finance course and I started teaching that and it's going, all the stuff you need to know about money, think you do, and I guarantee you don't. And so I would get people, I was selling people to come to my course. And it took us a little while to figure out, okay, what are the things that work and what are the things that don't? But that is the number one thing that started my business.
Excellent. And so, how did being an introvert, uh, how did you kind of get over that confidence hurdle? Did you have like a table set up, or kind of what was the steps you took to engage people to come to that?
So what I did is I had a table, and you want to know one of the coolest things that I learned through a bit of trial and error?
What's that?
So I like I said, my big thing was I wasn't directly selling my financial service. I was going, come to my class. And so what I had was I had like a copy of the class binder and different things, and I'd have, of course, my draw box. And what I discovered by accident is if I basically ignored my table, people would come in. Like I'd make sure I was a few tables away talking to someone else so I could keep an eye on it. But when I was at the table, people would like avoid, like they would take, okay, what is the absolute farthest way I can get away from this, or I'll turn around, go somewhere else, because they don't want to be pounced upon and they don't want to be sold or anything like that. Where they take a look and they're going, okay, I'm not seeing anybody there. Okay, it's safe for me to come in, and they'd start flipping through, and I'd be close enough so I could watch where if they had a question or whatever, I could gently come in and ask. But for the most part, I avoided my table, and people, oh, looking through the binder and stuff, then they go, okay, yeah, you know what? I'm actually interested in this. And they would fill out their name. And then here's something. Every single person that entered came to class. They won.
Interesting.
They
Yes.
won. I didn't have, no, it wasn't, if you put your name in, you won. Some people still didn't come for whatever reason or whatever, but the people would come to class and they would spend a Saturday with me learning about thrilling things like budgeting and credit bureaus and life insurance. But they loved it because, like I said, they didn't sell anything. Going, here's how it works. Here's the questions you need to ask. Here's how, like, you determine if which is right for you in your stage of life and things like that.
Mhm.
And then I would get them as clients, and then they started sending me their friends and their family and their coworkers, and that's how we went.
Absolutely. Yeah, and let's, one of the things we talked about when we were setting up this, episode is that the budgeting class and this budgeting piece really ended up being kind of a gold mine for you. And so
Mhm.
let's talk about that. Some of the doors that had actually opened.
Well, I've been getting the training for over 3 decades, and there's like all these very successful people. They're saying, put the time into doing the full job with your clients, do the work, build the relationships, and nobody does. Like there's so many agents are focused on, okay, I need to make this sale because I need the commission and stuff like that. And I'm going, I put in more time and effort with my clients and get a much greater rate of return, and actually have a very small client base in comparison to the vast majority of people that make what I do for income, for the simple fact that I get everything. Like my clients trust me. They don't sneeze without talking to me. And the number one thing that most people come to me regardless of income. Like I've had people where they're making $60,000 a year, and I have clients that are making a half a million plus, and they mostly come to me to start off because they want an actual working budget. And I don't charge for that. That's just part of my value added service. And I'm going, hey, let's go through. And they are going, oh, this is great. Can you take a look at this? Can you help me? Yes, I can. Because they
Fantastic.
want the basics. They don't want to be sold to. And having, like I said, teaching them how to have the money conversations, how to put together a thing like a budget. I love going through and taking a look and finding all the places that they're bleeding money and they don't even know about it, and going, okay, well, if we make these few adjustments, the life insurance and the RSPs, or retirement planning for down in the States, 401ks and stuff, we have that money. And it didn't take anything at all out of your budget, because we actually just found the places that you were slowly leaking, or in some place gushing amounts of money, and reallocated it. And then they're over the moon.
Exactly. Yeah, one of the things that I loved when you and I were talking is, for a financial advisor or even for an insurance agent, you're always looking for asset gathering. Where are things at? Where does this individual have their their holdings? Where is the wealth at? What is it that we're trying to protect in the case of an insurance agent, or in the case of a financial advisor? Where are the assets that need to be working for this client? And sometimes, you're if you feel like you're trying to draw that out of them, how do I get that information? And that's what I loved about this whole budgeting approach is they're going to disclose all of that upfront willingly. Here's what I have. Here's my debts. Here's my income. Here's what's over in savings, and here's what's in the investment account. And so all of that's being laid out, from the very beginning. So I loved that approach that you took. And so let's kind of talk about that. So they've laid that out, but because they've done that, there's something else that happens, really subconsciously, and there's a trust that develops between you and that client. And talk a little bit about that, how that trust develops, how it evolves, and then where that really allows you to take them as a trusted advisor.
Well, I always say, okay, my clients, they get financially naked with me. And that is a very, very threatening thing, especially in our Western culture, because we're taught that we're not supposed to talk about money, and there is so much shame and guilt and fear wrapped up in it. I always say it is a more taboo subject than sex. And so you definitely have to build up that trust, and then once you have it, as long as you don't do anything to damage it, it's unbelievable. Like I said, they will send you their friends and their family and all of that. And I always go in sincerely, honestly, willing to help them. And I have clients that ask me, because I could sell all sorts of different things, and they'll go, "Okay, is this good for me?" Or what? And I will go through and very honestly, if I can do something better for them, I'll tell them, or be very honest. And I hate having to do this, but I always do. No, this is better than anything I can offer to you. Make sure that you keep this and stuff. And then they know that they can trust me because I will tell them the truth, even if it's short term negative for me. I'm going, "Oh, I talk myself out of commissions on a regular basis because I don't ever want that coming back and biting me in the ass. I want people to genuinely trust me because I've earned it."
Absolutely. Yeah, and something that you bring up there, as a trusted advisor, the fact that you're willing to even forego your best interest at times, uh, earns just volumes and volumes and volumes in the goodwill deposit bank.
Yep.
And it allows you to extract from that, over the life of that relationship. And I think that's just powerful. Something else that, let's talk about, Tammy, is, and I don't know if the audience caught this, you're still running the same playbook 30 years later.
Oh, yes.
Uh, and so this isn't just something you started out with. It's something that you're still running, but I'm going to guess that you have become more advanced in how you run the playbook. And so kind of talk about how that playbook has evolved a little bit since the beginning. So in the beginning, you'd be at the local event, you'd have it out there on the table. So what does that look like today for you as you've advanced in the way you operate, maybe the level of clientele you're working with, but what's the approach look like for you these days? It's still kind of the same fundamental.
Well, the fundamentals never change. It's just a little bit on how it's done. So for example, now almost all of my client interactions are over Zoom, and they were starting to become more that way just before COVID-19 shut the world down, because so many of my clients have physically moved, so it's not as easy to physically see them. And I was using Zoom, and then as soon as the pandemic came and we couldn't go anywhere or see anything, this is how I do my work, and it is wonderful. But one of the things that I always put a lot of time and effort into is paying attention and learning more about, like I said, the human interactions. And the biggest like the biggest thing for being successful is just, I'd say, two things: actually sincerely caring about your clients, like really wanting to do a good job for them, and listening. So many salespeople, especially at the beginning, they think they need to be talking all the time. And I'm going, if you're talking, you're not making any money. If your client is talking, that's the cash register ringing. Let them talk, ask them the right questions, and then pay attention. Like, I don't like scripts because that takes away from having the conversation and building that trust, because you go, okay, what is the script? just listen. Like, I don't ever go into a first meeting with a presentation. I go in literally with a few blank pieces of paper and start taking notes and asking questions and paying attention to, like, if I'm dealing with a couple, how are they interacting? How are they organized? Asking like basic questions like, what are you wanting to accomplish? And then where is that going? And just putting in that in the short term, slower process, but in the long term, way faster.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you brought up a great point, and I want to kind of back up on this. If you're doing all the talking, you are missing out on so much. And there's a really a principle, and I know you coach a lot of entrepreneurs, and I do as well. And this is something I'm always telling them: if you'll be quiet, they'll tell you what they need, and they'll even tell you how to close the sale. You just have to shut up and listen.
Yep.
And I think you've probably found that to be true. They'll tell you exactly what the pain points are. They'll tell you exactly what they're looking for.
If
And
you ask the right questions to help them diagnose, because a lot of the time they come and all they know is they're in pain. They can't
Mhm.
describe the pain point, but they just know that they're in pain. So when you're asking insightful, honest questions and you're letting them talk, and I'll find a lot of the time when I get the biggest ahas or the insights is that, okay, they've been rambling on for a few minutes and then they kind of do this pause and they're not done talking, but they're just kind of putting things together and then they'll tell me. And it's not even that they were withholding or anything, but they needed to have that safe space to be able to talk through it and then get going. And then I'm going, okay, you said this is, then we need to start asking some of these questions and just let them talk. They will tell you everything.
Good. So you brought up a great point. How do you ask better questions? So how do you know how do you develop good diagnostic questions?
To start off with, a lot of it is trial and error. And I always teach for not just people that I'm teaching in financial services or anything, but everyone do an autopsy after absolutely everything. So you have an appointment with a client, pull out your pen and paper to start off with, and I always go, okay, what worked, what didn't, what do I want to try next time? So okay, oh yeah, okay, this went well, this went well. Oh, this no, this didn't well. You're paying attention. Okay, yes, so I was going through my presentation or whatever, and I'm using all the acronyms, and I could watch them glaze over, but this is the script I was taught on, so I'm going to stick with it. No, okay, we need to try something, and then what I want to try differently. So for some of us, it's a little bit easier to start off with, but it is very much trial and error and learning how to do it. And I've had, when I have trained people in the past and stuff, we'll go out and be with clients and we'll get back in the vehicle or whatever. And then how did you know to ask that? And I'm going, okay, I have to stop and think for a second. How did I know? Well, they said this. And as soon as they said this bit, then I'm going, I have these next bit of questions. So that's the way but I learned to do that over years.
Absolutely. Tammy, one of the things that came to mind is you and I had our original conversation. We talked about distinguishing yourself, and for you, it was the budgeting piece.
Yep. The
What's
education piece.
That's it. What's the thing you're going to do to set yourself apart? And if you would kind of delve into that, because I know you do a lot of coaching, and one of the things that I find with a lot of financial services professionals is they haven't figured out what their unique selling proposition really is. What are they going to do to differentiate? They've got all the same services and products as the agent next door.
Yep.
And when you ask them, why should I do business with you? Well, because I have, life insurance and annuities and blah 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 blah
Yeah,
blah.
yeah, and
And,
so do 1,000 other people within like a 100-mile radius.
exactly. And so why you? Why should I do business with you? And so if you could speak into that, how can a financial services professional really figure out how to distinguish themselves, how to set themselves apart?
So I've seen so many different things over the years and all sorts of things different work. It's figuring out what works for you. So like how I did it was I very much wanted to focus on, like I said, educating people, like, how can you make better decisions and how are the different things work and stuff. Because I'd see people, and every now and then they get lucky and they have stuff that was absolutely perfect for them in the right price, the right stage. But there were so many people that had stuff that was wrong or they were missing pieces and they didn't even know. And I'm going, because I had so much time having to help people clean up the messes. I'm going, okay, how do we prevent them in the first place? So putting together my course was the biggest one, and the fact, like I said, I have very strong relationships with my clients that I've had for since the beginning. And when they're in my area, they insist on coming and taking me out for breakfast or lunch or whatever. And they are sending me referrals. And referrals in my world are they phone or email me and ask for an appointment. I won't call anyone. They have to come to me. And just putting in the time, like I said, the biggest thing for the differentiation was like the budgeting piece, and like I said, helping them make sure their credit was put together properly, and really going slowly and asking the questions. And here's the big one thing I learned: I treat everybody like they know absolutely nothing, and most of the time I am right. And that's not talking down to anybody, but I'm going, nobody wants to feel stupid. So if I start, okay, we're going to have the conversations always on this nice basic level, and we'll educate you. And if you know stuff, okay, nope, well then we'll move it up. But I never assume they know or
Mm,
understand anything, and make it very safe for them to ask the questions, and just building an honest relationship. Because you don't have to be different from absolutely everyone. You just have to be right fit for them.
powerful. So two things you brought out here that I want to step back and just point out and drive home because I don't want anybody to miss those. And I think they were two things that really differentiated you, especially in the beginning. One is you had a course, you took the time to develop something of value that most people wouldn't have in their hand. So one of the things we always talk to our clients about on the marketing side: go write a book, go publish something, get it out on Amazon, have it out on your table. It will psychologically it positions you in the mind of the customer
Mhm.
as being an authority, even if you open it up and it's full of comic book pictures. But it
Which most
is,
people would never notice because they're never opening the
yeah,
book.
because they're never going to read it. But the fact that there it is, it's got your picture on the cover, but it positions you, and that's, I don't want our audience to miss that. You positioned yourself even in the beginning as an authority, and so even though had very little experience, people didn't know that. You've got this course, and people felt like they could learn from you.
Mhm.
And so I think that may be one of the biggest nuggets out of this conversation. The other one was, don't assume. And I have watched too many salespeople, not just insurance salespeople, not just financial advisors, but salespeople in general, make horrible, horrible, horrible decisions because they assumed about a person's financial capacity, about a person's capacity as a customer, client, you name it, and have made horrible errors,
Mhm.
missed horrible business opportunities. Here in the United States, I used to just drive this home to guys I was coaching, that the number one vehicle driven by millionaires was an old beat up pickup truck.
Yeah.
Um,
Big Sam Walton, not
and so if you're judging on all the wrong things, you could be missing, golden opportunity. So I think those two things were just powerful, powerful, powerful. So let's kind of, as we kind of move into where you're at now. You're doing obviously a lot of coaching. You're working with entrepreneurs, and obviously a lot of insurance agents. What they are working towards, financial services professionals are working towards independence, working for themselves, telling the boss to take a hike. So where I'd like to kind of take us towards the end here is just some of the common things you see in the people that you're coaching. What are some of the common mistakes you see people making as they make that transition? And what are some of the things that you would encourage anybody who's looking to make that leap to be thinking through as they make that leap? I think obviously some of the things that you've already hit: figure out your brand, figure out your value, your unique selling propositions. What else would you add to that mix?
I'm going to go very basic and foundational on this one is how are you actually going to set up your day? Because when we're working for someone else, they're telling us what to do, when to do it, how to do it, where to do it, all those things. Our job is just to do it. We don't have to think. When you are self-employed, you're going into sales, we have all the control in the world, which is both a blessing and a curse. Because especially when you're starting out, you're going, okay, what do I need to be doing? I need to be doing something. So they'll grab on to whatever. I'm going, are you doing the right things? And another one, pick a place to start and do one or two things for marketing. There's so many, okay, I need to be doing everything, and they're spraying like a shotgun and they're wondering why they're not getting any results. Well, there's 27 different ways that you can market yourself. And if you're trying to do all 27, you're going to feel like remember on the old talent shows where you'd see the people with the plate spinning and then going, that's what they're doing their life on. No, pick one or two things. Like, you want to do the trade shows? Do you like going to networking? Some people love doing the cold calling. Some people are really good on this. Pick one or two channels and be consistent so people can see you, so people can get to know you, so people believe that you're actually serious about this and that this is not just a flash in the pan. Because if they're going to be vulnerable enough to share their financial information and stuff, which is the scariest thing in the world, they have to have the trust. And if you're not being seen as consistent and in this for the long term, they're going to avoid you.
Powerful. Yeah, it's I often tell clients it's not one piece of content that's really going to make or break it. It is the consistency over time, and it is the wall of content, or it's the wall of that effort that really makes the difference. Good stuff. So, Tammy, final thoughts that you have for us today.
You can do such a wonderful job and you can help people in ways that you cannot even imagine. And it is one of the most magical things if you actually put in the time to learn how to do it properly and sincerely care about your clients. There's few things as powerful as what we can do. Just do it right. It isn't fast, it isn't easy, but it is simple and it is definitely doable. And you can set yourself up with an amazing life.
Excellent. And then, Tammy, if somebody wants to connect with you, learn more about you, where can they go and do that?
So the two places that you can find me are always on my website. So ksabusiness.ca, and KSA is kick some ass. And you can find me on Instagram at ksa.business.
Fantastic. Tammy, thanks for being with us today. And to the audience, we look forward to having you again on our next episode. Have a great day.